The global magnitude of drug prescription conspiracies is mind-boggling, but to bring it home, we'll be focusing on the United States of America. Today on Fraud Files, we'll be discussing the case of Peter Bolos and his co-conspirators who were jailed in Tennessee for a multi-million-dollar statewide telemedicine pharmacy fraud scam. To make sure you don't miss any of the intricacies in this story, make sure to watch it all the way to the end. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon to be notified of new videos. 7 individuals and 7 linked corporate companies were sentenced by a federal judge in Greeneville, Tennessee, for their roles in a multi-million-dollar healthcare fraud conspiracy. According to court documents and evidence presented at trial, Peter Bolos and his co-conspirators Michael Palso, Andrew Assad, Scott Rio, Larry Smith, Mihir Taneja, Arun Kapoor, and Michael Bolos, as well as various companies owned or controlled by some of these individuals, defrauded pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs, such as Express Scripts and CVS Caremark, or tens of thousands of prescriptions. On behalf of insurance companies, PBMs process and approve prescription drug claims. Bolos and his co-conspirators duped the PBMs into authorizing millions of dollars in claims that were paid to pharmacies controlled by the conspirators by private insurers such as Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee and state insurers such as Medicaid and TRICARE. In December 2021, a federal jury found Peter Bolos guilty. Rio, Assad, Palso, Smith, Michael Bolos, and a slew of other company organizations pled guilty to their participation in the scheme. In a conspiracy with Bolos, the others, Taneja, Kapoor, and Sterling Knight, pleaded guilty to criminal misbranding. Bolos was sentenced to 14 years in jail and $2.5 million in forfeiture on May 16th. Palso, 48, Lutz, Florida, was sentenced to 33 months in prison on the same day. Both Bolos and Palso were also fined approximately $25 million in restitution. Smith, 52, of Tampa, Florida, was sentenced to 42 months in jail on May 7 by a Tampa court. Alpha Omega Pharmacy, Germain Pharmacy, Zoetic Pharmacy, ULD Wholesale LLC, and Tanith Enterprises, Smith's now defunct corporate organizations, were all condemned to pay approximately $25 million in restitution. Taneja, 47, of Tampa, was also sentenced to 10 months in prison and a $10,000 fine by the court. Kapoor, 48, of Temple Terrace, Florida, was sentenced to 3 years of probation and a $10,000 fine on May 18th. Kapoor and Taneja's now defunct corporate entity, Sterling Knight, was forced to pay $21 million in restitution. Michael Bolos, 36, of Tampa, was also sentenced to 15 months in prison and a $25,000 fine by the court. On May 19th, Assad, 37, of Tampa, was sentenced to 24 months in jail and ordered to pay nearly $25 million in restitution. HealthRight was fined $4.25 million and ordered to make reparations. The significant sentences imposed by the court reflect the seriousness of this large-scale fraud scheme, in which the defendants deceived customers in order to facilitate the distribution of drugs without proper medical oversight and overbilled insurers for illegal prescriptions, said Deputy Assistant Attorney General Aaron G. Rao, head of the Civil Division's Consumer Protection Branch. The department will continue to work with law enforcement partners to prosecute those who take advantage of telemedicine to perpetrate fraud schemes that violate the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. The scale of the prescription drug fraud scheme orchestrated by these defendants and their conspirators was astonishing, and the court's prison sentences reflect the seriousness of their crimes, said U.S. Attorney Francis M. Hamilton III from the Eastern District of Tennessee. The financial harm caused by healthcare fraud hurts all Americans, and the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Tennessee will continue to support the cooperation among its federal law enforcement partners that is necessary to bring criminal swindlers like these defendants to justice. This sentencing is the result of a multi-agency investigation into a complex telemedicine pharmacy fraud scheme requiring substantial investigative resources, said Special Agent in Charge Joseph E. Carrico of the FBI's Knoxville field office. The FBI, with its law enforcement partners, will remain vigilant to assure that unscrupulous individuals who exploit our healthcare system are brought to justice. Distributing misbranded prescription drugs in the U.S. marketplace places patients' health at risk, said Special Agent in Charge Justin C. Fielder of the FDA Office of Criminal Investigations, Miami Field Office. we will continue to pursue and bring to justice those who put profits ahead of public health. Bolos and his co-conspirators abandoned their responsibilities in the healthcare industry through an elaborate fraud scheme and manipulated the system without regard for patient need or medical necessity to line their pockets, said Special Agent in Charge John Condon of Homeland Security Investigations, Tampa. These significant sentences should serve as a warning to anyone who attempts to deceive the government and steal from taxpayers. Providers who solicit beneficiaries' personal information and use it to defraud federal health care programs not only undermine the integrity of those programs, they also divert valuable taxpayer dollars for self-serving purposes, said Special Agent in Charge Tamala E. Miles of the Department of Health and Human Services, Officer of Inspector General. HHS OIG is proud to work alongside our law enforcement partners to investigate and hold accountable perpetrators of federal healthcare fraud. The U.S. Postal Service Officer of Inspector General will continue to vigorously investigate those who commit frauds against federal benefit programs and the U.S. Postal Service, said Special Agent in Charge Matthew Modafferi in the U.S. Postal Service, Officer of Inspector General, Northeast Area Field Office. The sentence in this case sends a clear message to pharmaceutical companies that tactics like these will not be tolerated. Today's sentencing holds the conspirators accountable for their reprehensible scheme that misleads patients and defrauds the federal government, said Amy K. Parker, Special Agent in Charge, OPM OIG. Bolos, Assad, and Palso owned and operated Synergy Pharmacy in Palm Harbor, Florida, according to court documents and evidence presented at trial. Synergy hired Rio, a Florida telemarketer who went by the moniker HealthRight, to produce prescriptions for Synergy and the other pharmacies implicated in the operation at their direction. The prescriptions were usually for pain relievers, scar treatments, and vitamins. Rio obtained the prescriptions by cold calling clients and convincing them to accept the medications and disclose their personal insurance information using HealthRight's telemarketing platform as a telemedicine service, according to evidence. HealthRight then compensated doctors to authorize medicines via its telemedicine platform, despite the fact that the doctors never spoke with the patients directly and relied only on the telemarketer's screening. During the conspiracy, which spanned from May 2015 to April 2018, Bolos and Palso, as well as Assad, paid Rio millions of dollars to buy at least 60,000 bogus prescriptions created by HealthRight, according to court documents and evidence presented at trial. Evidence demonstrated that Bolos chose specific pharmaceuticals for prescriptions that he could submit for profitable reimbursements at inflated costs, and that Bolos, Palso, and Assad utilized illegal tactics to conceal this behavior from the PBMs so that it may go undetected. The convictions came after a multi-year investigation by the HHS OIG, Nashville, FDA OCI, Nashville, USPS Office of Inspector General, Buffalo, FBI, Knoxville and Johnson City, Tennessee, OPM OIG, Atlanta, and HSI, Knoxville and Johnson City, Tennessee, Tampa. The United States Marshal Service also cooperated with the investigation and the asset confiscation. The lawsuit is being prosecuted by Assistant U.S. Attorney Mac Heavener of the Eastern District of Tennessee and Senior Trial Attorney David Gunn of the Civil Division's Consumer Protection Branch in Washington. The U.S. Attorney's offices assisted. And that concludes today's episode of Fraud Files, which focused on the case of Peter Bolos and his co-conspirators, who were imprisoned in Tennessee for a multi-million-dollar statewide telemedicine pharmacy fraud scheme. Remember, some pills are hard to swallow. We hope you had a good time watching it. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button if you enjoyed it. By clicking the bell icon, you can stay tuned to our channel for more incredible videos like this. Also, don't forget to comment on this event in the comments section below. We'll catch up with you in the next Fraud Files. Until then, continue to be a law-abiding citizen.